Ride out with me. Ride out and meet them.
For death and glory.
Yes!
Let this be the hour when we draw swords together.
Nicole, thank you so much for being on the show. Welcome.
Hi. Hey, good to see you, Benny. Thanks for having me.
What's going on? This was a very interesting day to join. Donald Trump just like taking a blowtorch to the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, they're lucky to have him because their ratings are so low. They have become so irrelevant, and they should really be thanking him for coming on. He didn't have to go on.
Yeah.
They've been incredibly cruel to the MAGA movement, to sovereign rights of the individual, and they're really lucky to have him. Otherwise, they would have been totally irrelevant this year.
That's right. So talking about totally irrelevant, I want to get to a couple of things before we talk RFK and a confirmation hearing coming up soon in a matter of days. World Health Organization. I have one of your Maha hats, okay? I have one of these. They're beautiful purple Maha hats. You got to get one. You can go over to Nicole's X account. They're amazing. They're like primo.
They're made in California, made at the same factory that the OG MAGA hat was made
Really?
of. So we really sought them out, and it was a nod to the original MAGA hat. And people don't realize made in California. We're a great state here. We've just got to get rid of some of the sticky bits that are holding us back from thriving.
Sticky or dry bits, yeah. People who empty the reservoir bits, and so there's no water in the hydrants. But before we get there, really quickly here, the Maha hat, World Economic Forum was today. World Health Organization, Donald Trump pulled out of and just atomized in one of his first executive orders, actually from the stage. This is how eager Trump was to doing this. I want to get your take on that.
Yeah, so I think that there's been a lot of call from within the United States. Remember, the role of the president is to serve the people of the United States. The people of the United States have expressed grave concern about the World Health Organization doing these international treaties that really threaten our constitutional liberties.
Yes.
And that is problematic. It really will create rot within the sovereign rights within our nation, sovereign rights that are written into the Constitution. I think thematically, the reason why President Trump won this election with such a large mandate from the people is that our constitutional freedoms, they really cross party lines. Democrats, independents, Republicans, we love our Constitution. And the WHO has time and time again tried to threaten it with these sweeping mandates that would require the United States to abide by their rules above our own. And that is not how due process works in this country. And if there's an organization that we are funding, I mean, if you look at the budget of the WHO, most of it is coming from the United States. How did that happen? Well, I do believe that we had certain members of our government within the White House, or our Congress even, that have been infiltrated by these international groups and influenced heavily by these international groups. And they forget who their mandate is from. It is from the people of the United States. And that is the return. That is the definition of what this golden era of America is about. It's about returning to the mandates of the people.
Yeah, Klaus Schwab, just because he's top of mind, because that was quite a unbelievable performance by Trump today. Klaus Schwab bragging about how he penetrates the cabinets of global of countries around the world with World Economic Forum apparatchiks. And that's how they're able to enact these extremely radical policies that are so terrible for countries and nations. They brag about it. I mean, it's not even like a secret. Like they're proud of it.
I mean, if you think about this character, this Klaus character, he really is like this international villain. And we have his archetype in all of the top, adventure films of this international villain that wants total power and control over nations. And nobody's given him that. power. He's somehow figured out how to do it through these backdoor trades using multinational corporations and somehow linking himself and getting himself involved in all of these big international trade deals. And so I think that we all see right through it. I've been to Davos. It's a terrible environment to be in. I mean, it's cold, it's weird. There's kind of this creepy, crawly feeling, that you get when you're in the room. I've been once, I never want to go back. And I think people who vie to go to Davos because they think it's great for business, they're misguided. Right now is the era of local production, giving people back their communities. That is where the energy is. That's where the money is going to be. It's not going to be around this guy over there in Switzerland.
Did they make you wear one of these outfits, Nicole? And I'm so sorry if they did. Do you have to go to Dr. Evil's spaceship, okay, like in the sky, and get fitted for whatever the hell this is? Is it the Galactic Senate? Like, are you voting to invade Alderaan? Like, what is that?
I mean, I don't know who that designer is. I don't know if there's like neoprene woven in there or what the goal is of that outfit, but I certainly didn't wear that when I went. It's a very bizarre look, and I don't know what, it's a statement outfit, and the statement does kind of ring true to this Dark Lord feel.
Yeah.
But it's not becoming of him either.
We have a meme of him as Palpatine. You got that one, Killer Klein? That was sent in. It's a perfect Palpatine. You're right. He's like a total Dr. Evil. I don't know how much. I just want him to put his finger up to his mouth just one time like this. Just one time and just show me. Super creepy.
Yeah, I mean, just deeply misguided as well. I mean, leave us alone. I think we just, here in the United States, I've been here in California. Oh gosh, that picture's terrifying.
It's creepy. Okay, then enough of that. Yeah, that's good.
Here in the United States, we just want to return to our communities. We want to return to our families. We want to be left alone. We want our sovereign rights. And that is really what I'm out here trying to help communicate every day across partisan lines. It's very, very consistent. It doesn't matter what your party affiliation is. We just want to have the right to live with freedom.
Yes. So you're saying this from where I assume you are right now is California.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to say, well, there's a bit of a dichotomy here because we've watched your own Batman villain, right? You want to talk about somebody out of central casting. It truly is like before falling into a vat of acid, Gavin Newsom looks just like the Joker, right? It's like pre-Joker origin story is Gavin Newsom. And the way that he's behaved through these wildfires, it is kind of a really perfect mirror image of what you're talking about, Nicole, which is these people are so disconnected from the people that they are charged with leading. And they're ignoring their just basic responsibilities and competency, right? To have water in the fire hydrants, you're taxed. And at an obscene level, at the very least, you should expect your streets to be paved, your brush to be cleared, and water in your hydrants. But that's not possible now in California, and there's tens of thousands of your fellow Californians who've just suffered horribly. Maybe your take on this?
I mean,
the state's running.
Amazingly, so I've been here on the ground in California trying to figure out what's been happening, meeting with people across the state, looking at different fire mitigation sites. We have lands that are owned and turned over in these very, very complex agreements. You have national parks that have leased to ranchers that are now kicking ranchers off after multi-generations of those ranchers tending to that land, mitigating fires on their land, doing really healthy, important grazing, which keeps our soils healthy and hydrated, clearing brush, keeping the brush from overgrowing. I mean, the amount of effort that has actually gone into turning our state into a tinderbox has been enormous. It's been almost purposeful. I mean, it's so neglectful. I have a story from ranchers in Northern California that were told by Cal Fire to stop putting out a fire that was going on their land because Cal Fire said, that's not your job. And the ranchers were like, but you guys aren't doing it. We have to do it. So they took their dozers out and they were able to clear the perimeter and stop a fire from going deeply rogue. And story after story after story of Cal Fire coming in and saying, stop putting out the fire. That's our job. But then they let the fire just get wildly out of control. And so this is insanity. This is absolute insanity. And, you know, these politicians going and doing photo ops during a time when they should be out there really hustling on the perimeter of the Santa Ana winds and making sure that clearing is happening in real time. In fact, I've heard a story now of individuals begging their county members to do clearing on the proximity of state land to these very dense neighborhoods, and they can't get through. They can't get the foot soldiers out there to do the work, to get their hands on the brush, to move it out, to chip it. And so, you know, we're sitting here kind of with our heads in our hands, and we're trying to figure out the fastest way of taking our state back from these imbeciles. I'd rather think that they're stupid than evil, honestly, because thinking about this in terms of evil is just, it's scary, and it's so I'd like to think of it in terms of stupid. And, you know, we've got to get some smart, competent people out there. We've got to empower our land stewards once again. And I love the farming community because they really, farming and ranchers in California, they know how to clear these lands. They know what it looks like. They know how to keep the soils healthy. And they're really good at putting out fires, it turns out, as well.
Yeah, unlike the guy who, and this is just because you talked about it, unlike this clip here, which is remarkable. It's like an actual photo op. Gavin Newsom just stood there to ensure that he could get his photograph taken by the roaring fire, and he stood there just long enough to make sure that it was like this entire somebody's life is being destroyed behind him, and he's ordering the camera to make sure that they capture just this perfect shot. Now, there's a perfect shot that happened when a mother who was truly beside herself came walking up to Gavin Newsom, and he was on the phone. And I mean, it's one thing to like your incompetence destroys people's lives, and you just talked about the major paradigm of, is it incompetence or is it evil? Is it incompetence or malevolence? Which one is it? And on some level, it's more comforting to think it's incompetence, but when I watched this clip, and we just play it as B-roll, Killer Klein. When I watched this clip, it's like, no, clearly it's malevolence because he lies to this lady. He says he's on the phone with Joe Biden and he can't get through. And this poor hysterical mother who's lost everything is being lied to by the guy who's in charge. And that's actually evil, Nicole. I'm sure you've seen this clip. Your reaction to it?
I mean, my reaction to it is, this is how they've been talking. This is how this group of people within the Democratic Party has been talking to concerned mothers, such as myself. I mean, I've had exchanges like this with our Democratic leadership in this state, and they talk down to you in this pedantic way that is so deeply insulting to the core. And this is a woman who lives in this community. She knows what good governance looks like in her community, and she's not getting it. And rather than hearing her out, he's deflecting. He's gaslighting her. I mean, the amount of gaslighting that happens from this party and this group of people and this leadership right now, it's someone asked me, they're like, Nicole, why don't you run as a Democrat? I can't in good conscience run as a Democrat, or even go back to the party. And this party needs to be completely turned inside out, cleaned out. It needs to find its soul again. And that isn't, if I go in, it's like a den of vipers. snipers. So, I've tried to work with these people for years. I was at Stanford a few years ago and saw a comprehensive plan on fire mitigation that would cost about $1 billion, and it was all mapped out. There were burn zones and times of years and frequencies. It was a complete schedule of controlled burns. And it would guarantee that none of these fires would turn into these giant cyclone bombs that are unstoppable. And they cherry picked around it. They did these vendor contracts. It doesn't make any sense that they spent, I think it was over $30 billion was in the clearing budget, and they didn't accomplish what they needed to accomplish. And, I'm on private lands owned by nonprofits. I just rode a horse through one of them the other day, taking a look at some of the clearing work, and it was excellent. And this is a forest that isn't going to have one of these big giant runaway fires occur on it because it's being managed properly. But then you go on to some of the state and federal lands and nobody is tending to it. They're doing it right now in Point Reyes. They just kicked off 200 farm workers in Point Reyes National Park, and they have no plan for who's going to now tend to that land. What's going to happen to it? It's going to overgrow with brush, and that next little ignition that happens is going to light that place up within a matter of 15-20 minutes, and there's going to be nobody there to put it out. I mean, this is the kind of absurdity that we're dealing with in the state right now. The amount of money that's gone to fight these idiotic policies is enormous. It's in the millions of dollars, and it's like screaming into a pit. There's nobody there on the other side to hear. And that's got to come to an end. So I'm in touch with some really good people right now in California. I'm hearing about the recall efforts. There's mobilizations. We're not going to let these guys get away with it anymore. We're not going to just hope and wish and do the reports and get them the information. We're going to take their jobs.
That's inspiring. Because when you travel to California, you realize that is the crown jewel of America. There is no state that is more beautiful, is more naturally gifted in resources and in topography. And you can't create a new one, right? Mm-hmm. I'm here in Florida, but it's different. It's very different from California. And it is a crown jewel, and it's been so, it's almost, it is a desecration, actually, of the gifts that California has been given to manage them this way. And so, will you be running for governor? Do you have intentions to do this?
I have an intention to make sure that these individuals are no longer in charge. It's more than one seat. We've got to take back some really important council seats in core cities. We've got to replace some mayors as well. I'm involved in the Karen Bass recall. We're going to see that through. We're going to make sure that the next mayor of LA is a mayor that can rebuild, that would never allow a major reservoir to stay dry while in maintenance. That's the real question is why did it have to be dry during maintenance? It doesn't make any sense. And they claim it was because of bird poop and bacteria, but you have UV rays and the water's just sitting there. It's not being used at that time. And, wouldn't it have been smart through fire season to have it full? So there's a lot to be done. And I'm not evading your question about whether or not I'm planning a run for governor. I want the best person to have that seat. And if that's me, of course, I'll step into it. But there's some good people in this state who are in line for that seat as well. And I've got no ego in this. I will work with a team, as we did to get President Trump elected. This is a team effort, and we can't forget that.
I know you haven't announced yet, but maybe you could just give a little campaign promise, because what you've been saying sure sounds like one heck of a campaign speech. Maybe you could give a promise. If your state was being burned to ashes, would you be on a vacation in Africa?
I I mean, that was her city, and and Karen Bass made promises not to travel and not to use that role, abuse that role
Yes.
for her own enjoyment.
Yes.
And she had, what I find amazing is that she had multiple people telling her that these Santa Ana winds were happening within 36 hours. She was in LA when she got that information, and she boarded that plane to Ghana, which is a very, very long trip. I don't know if you've flown from California to Africa. It is a very long trip, and it's a big deal to leave your state to go that far away, for and I don't know what she was doing there. Was this personal time on government dollars? We don't have mayoral diplomatic relationships between LA and the country of Ghana. So I don't understand what the heck she was doing there. And she had those warnings, and she had the duty to check those reservoirs and to make sure that the fire departments were going to be able to fight fires. She went anyways. She went anyways. And I understand, I made some comments on LA's Fire Chief Crowley, and I looked into her background, and, she's a good fire chief. I would hope she was a good fire chief, but, she has the last week or so pointed fingers to Karen Bass, and she says this is Karen Bass's issue. Um, and I gotta believe her. I mean, if she has deployed her department to go fight these fires, and she said, I deployed them as I was trained in my 20 years serving in the LA Fire Department, and I went out there and I deployed my team as we are trained to do, and we didn't have the infrastructure we needed to execute, and we were not responsible for the Department of Water's execution. That was part of the mayor's office. Yeah. So, it's very clearly this is a woman who has no business running one of our most important cities in this country. She's got to go.
Yes, clearly. Now, a final question on this is because the sea change in Silicon Valley has been wild. I just never thought I'd see an inauguration where Donald Trump is getting into office and smiling behind him is RFK, but also Zuckerberg and Bezos and Sundar from Google and Tim Cook, right? Like it has blown my mind. And I know you know this industry very, very well. You probably know many of these individuals personally. And they are all there doing what I believe is their patriotic duty, actually, to protect American industry and to protect our intellectual property and to ensure that we are the leaders in tech. And that's why I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at this I'm looking at that and I'm going, you can be the next governor. Yo, like Nicole, you can be if they're all going to go to Trump's inauguration, then these people who control so much of the economy of California, right, is tied to this sector. Then these individuals would absolutely then be in favor of making the place where they have their businesses, their trillion-dollar businesses, habitable and safe. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, first I have to applaud whoever did the seating chart. It was really entertaining.
Here's some of them.
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining. So, I think that there is a duty right now for all of us to remember what our jobs are. And our jobs are to make sure that our core infrastructure works, that our taxpayers are represented, and that the will of the people is fulfilled across every seat of leadership. And so what we need right now here in the state of California is to understand that in many ways, our state has been ground zero for the globalist agenda. I used to not use that term, the globalist agenda, because it was too triggering if you're kind of in the middle, if you're a centrist. But I think it, given what we've seen over the last few years, and even through this election cycle, I think it's actually a very relevant term to use if you're a centrist. And I'll explain why. And I'll explain why that's relevant to California. So the agenda of changing our food systems, moving, you were just talking with the congressman about it, but taking cows off the market, vaccinating all of our livestock, this is a kind of corporate globalist agenda, and we're seeing it play out in the UK, across Europe. The farmers have been rioting. What they've done to farmers in Europe is unconscionable, and we see those same policies rolling out across the United States right now, and it feels like we're being, it's like just coming at us like out of it's coming at us at such a rate that we can't, it almost feels like we can't fight it, that it's inevitable, that there's this, it's just where it's all going. And that is a horrible feeling. And that is what the American public felt. And 70% of the American public is saying no. And this is like a very capital N-O, no, to this agenda, this globalist agenda to rewrite really nature and the nature of human biological needs. And it happens first in California. This is their entry point. And that if they can sell the narrative as this, fight against climate change, and it is your duty as an individual to drive an electric car, the onus is on you. And they put all of this onus on the individual. And then you start to notice that the individuals start shaming each other if they don't abide by this rule book deployed upon them by the globalist agenda. And it's worked in California for, I would say, the last 20 years probably. But our state's burning down now. People are very sick in the state of California. In Silicon Valley, the rates of food allergies, like serious food allergies. If you eat a peanut, you die. Like the rate of that kind of allergy is really high here in Silicon Valley. And autism off the charts. Teachers striking at all the public schools. They can't handle it. It's failing. The globalist agenda is failing, and it has failed us. And now the recognition that much of it is propaganda coming through the mainstream media, and the mainstream media is failing us. They're guiding us the wrong direction. I think that the timing is now. It probably is a little late. I hope that we can restore this state. I think we can. People are mobilizing. The Maha, or just common sense folks, we're mobilizing here in California for the first time. It's informal. It's not necessarily being led by the California GOP, but there are folks and members of the GOP. We're coming together. We're finding each other. We're self-financing a lot of this as well.
It seems like the greatest force in America, certainly untapped, is the force of mothers who don't want to poison their children. I think we learned
fathers.
that, and fathers in the year 2024. And, we welcomed our fourth kid to the world
Congrats.
this week.
I saw that.
And it's like, that's the greatest motivator on earth, right? Is like, don't harm my children, and give them nourishing food, and allow me to raise them and pass on my values, because that's actually the biological driver of all existence, in fact. Yeah. And so what you're saying here really rings true to me, especially this week, Nicole.
Yeah. And if mothers are sick, so that's another thing. Mothers are our best fighters, but what happens when the mothers are getting sick? You've likely seen the recent statistics of cancer rates amongst women 18 to 35. This is, our childbearing population. And the cancer rates are through the roof. They've spiked past cancer rates in males. I think it's like 2x. It's really, really scary because you're right. Mothers are kind of our frontline advocates.
Yes.
And when you take mothers out, and this is something that, really gets to the core of my just, it makes me upset in a way that it's primal. It's a kind of primal upset seeing my fellow young moms suffer from sickness here in our state, and it takes them out. It takes them out of the fight, and we need those women in the fight.
Yes.
So I really, this is where I plead. I plead with those in the Senate right now who are going to hear RFK Jr.'s testimony and his speech. He's going to deliver a beautiful speech. I hope everybody tunes in and hears his words, hears him in his own words, and also hears the plea of mothers from across this country. Mothers here in the beautiful state of California who want to fight, who can't fight because they're undergoing maybe a chemo treatment or an autoimmune disorder. Just please, we need something new here in our country, and we need RFK Jr. We need him, and we need his team, and we need this whole team working together to restore the health and the sanctity of life here.
I don't want to ask too personal of a question, but I know how close you are with RFK. I think that I would not get much pushback from those watching if I were to say the strongest words spoken on a campaign trail this presidential cycle was, we need to love our children more than we hate each other.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, did you write that line? Or did you assist in its creation? And will we be hearing more of that in RFK's confirmation hearing in just a number of days?
It was one of the most beautiful, poignant messages delivered. I think during my time as a mother that I've ever heard, and resonated so deeply with so many of us across the nation. And I believe I didn't write it. I can't take credit for it. But I will take credit for the setup for that press hearing. At the time they weren't so happy. So there are people within the campaign that weren't so happy with that setup, but but it had to be. People had to know this was going to be one of the most important moments in American election history, and I wanted people to pay attention to the words that were going to be spoken on that day. The inception of a unity movement. That I will, I am very much inspired by personally. And I know many people who have been close to giving up, heard those words, picked themselves up, and they said, I'm going to go and fight for this.
Yes. I think that, frankly, that was one of the highest notes that got us to the point that we are at today, in that unity movement and that creation, along with the sparklers, obviously, along with the sparklers on stage.
That photo is so good.
You can, yeah.
It's going to go down in history.
It really will. So just really quickly here, your message to the United States senators who will be voting on RFK in a matter of days and hours.
For those who vote yes, you will never regret it. For those who vote no, you will be hearing from us for a very, very long time, and you will never hear the end of it.
Because it's like you are technically voting against the will of hundreds of millions of American parents who want safety for their children and to just not poison their families.
Yeah, this is common sense. This is a return to common sense of human biology, human biological needs. It is a celebration of how amazing being human is, and the role, the very, very important role of government to foster individual health, to be an ally to the mother, not someone that the mother is afraid of. The American mother right now is terrified of the US government and what they're going to force into their home and into their bodies and into their children's bodies. They want to know it's safe. And if those senators want to restore faith in the US government's ability to provide a healthy, safe environment, and to restore faith in vaccines, even because, they did that, all on their own. If they're complaining about vaccine hesitancy, that is their own doing.
Yes. So we've already seen red dye number 40, I guess, banned, and
red dye 3 has been banned, not 40.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
My wife does health and wellness, and she's a nurse, and so she keeps very, very, very tight registry of all of this, and is very, very excited. Just a quick preview, since obviously you've been crafting so much of this message in this moment behind the scenes, and you were the person who broke the news. Actually, it was you on a podcast saying we may join with Trump. And the world went crazy when you said that. I mean, the world went nuts. They're like, no way. And you were right. So clearly, you were the one who sang the last note on that. What can we expect from HHS Secretary RFK Jr.?
We can expect common sense, thoughtful approaches to all aspects of human health services. And we can expect a return to good science that is clear of interests that are strictly financial interests, interests that are driven first and foremost by the needs of the family, the needs of the American individual, not the needs of the corporation. It's going to feel like a return to sanity in many ways. And I believe that if given the opportunity and the support, we are going to have vaccines on the market that people trust once again.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So in conclusion here, Nicole, and this has been such a wonderful conversation. It's great to talk to you, and I've admired you for such a long time. I don't mean to shock you or to in any way ask something personal or something that is disturbing, right, or triggering. But I do have a photo here of RFK eating seed oils, and I'm not again. I don't mean to offend you. All right, I don't mean to offend you, but perhaps you could talk us through what's going on in this moment and what's going on in this man's head that you know so very well and ran for president with.
Well, I see no bites. I grew up eating McDonald's, loving McDonald's, and I would love to go back to loving McDonald's. It's not just the seed oils. There's, dough softeners in there that aren't great. And, when I eat it, I don't feel so good, and would love to, go through that McDonald's drive-through again and just know that there's simple, clean ingredients in every bite taken. But again, some people are more able to digest those ingredients than others. I'm not one of them. I don't know I don't know Bobby that well to know if he can, how that works out for him. But I think McDonald's is a wonderful American company. I love the Golden Arches. And I know Bobby does too. He grew up eating McDonald's, and the amount of nostalgia around it is just wonderful. So I said it once, and I'll say it again. I said it on Steve Bannon's show. Let's make the Big Mac great again.
Yeah, that's right. Beef tallow, right, for the fries.
Yeah.
It's the perfect expression. I mean, really, it's like the perfect expression for RFK holding what I assume is a quarter pounder there. Yeah. Well, I don't think he seems too sure about that, Nicole. That's like
yeah, that's not his let's get him face. That's kind of his okay.
Make Big Macs great again. I love that.
Yes, please.
I love that. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more either. We do, my wife tries to keep us on the straight and narrow and eat all real food. And I grew up like, poor college kid eating McDonald's as well, right? Dollar menu. And I couldn't eat it. We were at a shoot earlier in the year and we got McDonald's in and I just couldn't eat it. I was like, this doesn't taste like real food, actually.
It's a bummer. It's really funny. In-N-Out Burger here on their Twitter account, they've gotten swarms of individuals asking them to cook their French fries in beef tallow, and they're really like confused by it all. It's like for them, it's come out of nowhere. For us, it's like very obvious. But they're like, why is everyone yelling at us about beef tallow French fries?
What a great American company, In-N-Out, man. I love them. Yeah, they're awesome.
They're great.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, look at this, man. Like make this great American pastime, classic, drive-through great again, and serve healthy foods. You can actually do it, right?
And we can do it, and it's good for their market. They're going to see their numbers boom.
Yes.
Because they're going to bring back a lot of consumers that really miss them.
That's right. You already won with Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake brought back beef tallow. That's correct, right? I think my producers are giving me the links right here. Just really quickly, I don't mean to filibuster you, but
sure.
Here we go. There. This is the official verified Steak and Shake. Did this man just pull up in our drive-thru?
Great one.
There you go. All right.
They're nailing their marketing.
What an amazing time to be alive.
Wow, 9 million views on that. Good job, Steak and Shake. See? That's what people want.
100,000 likes? Am I reading that correct, Klein? 100,000 likes.
Yeah.
What a great way to do business, right? Like, come on, this is just smart business.
Yeah, just follow the market. Market wants it.
That's right.
And we can deliver. I've got farmers, ranchers across America that have all of this, beef tallow is so easy to make. You just take chunks of the fat and, a lot of it comes from the burger meat because 80-20, consumers want the 80-20. So if there's more than that, you got all this excess fat. You boil it up and then you strain it through a sieve, put it in a jar of some sort. It's ready to go. It's so easy to make. And there's tons of it.
You know what? Modern problems require modern solutions, and this is it. Like, go back to making healthy fast food. Please, I'm begging you, actually, please. Because I love fast food. Like, go back to making it healthy, please, so I can have it again. I've really enjoyed talking with you, Nicole. Like, this is great, and I'm so glad for the work that you're doing. I hope very jealously and selfishly that you run. I would love that. And this seems like the moment, right? Like Bezos and Zuckerberg and Apple, Google, Microsoft, all of them are like beaming behind Donald Trump. Everyone's ready for a fresh start. And it'd be just so awesome to see that.
Thank you. If it's my time, I will run. And I'm waiting. There's all kinds of relationships and partnerships that are being had. Really good people in the state. And if it's not me, someone wonderful is going to get my full-hearted endorsement.
Well, there we go. Okay. Well, here we go. Here's our full hearts out to you, and everyone follow Nicole. 422,000 Americans can't be wrong, ladies and gentlemen. And our hearts hopefully full of beef tallow very, very soon. Here is Nicole on Instagram as well, 89,000. If you want to go hit it on Instagram, I assure you she has the best political ads in the game, without question. Just, you have quite a team there, Nicole.
Yeah, ready to deploy in 2026 or sooner.
That's
for Governor of California.
That's right. Okay. Here we go. We'll clip it and send it out. Thank you, Nicole. God bless you. Godspeed.
Thank you very much. Bless you.